Does it make you and your partner incompatible if you come from two different cultures? Some people, believe it or not, would say yes, it makes things a lot more difficult, and you can very much see that you're not compatible. And it's just easier to be with somebody who is of the same culture as you. And other people are like, of course not. Like it depends on your heart, if you're aligned on values and all those things. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments as we're talking, but let's talk about it. So I was watching something on Netflix the other day because that's what I do. Relationship shows, they come to me. I think it's called like Blue Therapy or something like that. And basically, you have a handful of couples. I think it's set in the UK. They sit down and you see these snippets from their therapy sessions with this therapist. And one of these couples, she was, I believe, Nigerian and he was, I believe, German. And they were having a discussion. And she was like, "Oh, I need to tell you something." Therapist like, "Lay your truths out." And she was like, "Oh, I need to tell you something. I know I told you I was just sending money to my mom to help her pay off her car, but her car's been paid off for over a year now, and I'm still sending her money." And he was completely ticked off. You might be like, what does this have to do with cultural differences? Hold, please. Wait for it. Because he was upset for two reasons. The first was, you didn't tell me. So you've been keeping something from me. This is a betrayal of my trust. You have been lying to me by omission. I talked about that yesterday, okay? Lying, or maybe it was 2 days ago. It's hard because I'm on a daily journey. But lying by omission, what's that look like? And why do we do it? And all the things. So I'm going to link that video in the description below. But he was upset about that. And he was upset that she was just sending the money. He was like, "What in the subscription service are you doing with just randomly sending your mom money without reason?" And she was like, that's what we're supposed to do. You don't understand." And then her sister came over to the apartment. You see this clip where the sister was like, "I do it too." Like we all send our mom money. And he was just like taken aback and baffled. And why would you do that? And so here is a bit in the crack in the foundation of their relationship. They're not married, but they've been together for a few years because this was a cultural clash. And culturally, she was like, this is her words. Culturally, we as the youngsters, we send money to our parents. It is what we do. And all of my siblings do it. And it's just the way that we show our respect. It's a way that we show our appreciation. And she was like explaining to him, and he was just like, "Doesn't make sense to me. I don't think you should be doing that." It's also important to note that he didn't have the best relationship with his family, right? And so that is just a foreign concept. And sometimes when you are dealing with that kind of foundational differences that were bred in your upbringing, things are things are ingrained up in there, right? Because like my husband is Guyanese, more of a Caribbean culture. And there were things that I got to learn from him. And that was helpful. Now, I'm not going to say that when you have cultural differences, it's always so easy because there's some things that you might feel diametrically opposed to that they feel like this is just something I do in my culture. For instance, he really was opposed to her just sending money for no reason, just on a basic level. And she was like, it's not for no reason. And so you're at an impasse. And what do? The biggest asset we have is to gain understanding before we make certain assumptions. Because a lot of us have heard things about certain culture, heard about how you do things. You hear what your partner says they do on a surface level, but you don't know why they do it. You don't understand how it came to be, nothing about it. And so being in a space where you're like, okay, I just want to understand this tradition. And also feeling safe enough to be like, it makes me a little uncomfortable, but now I get it and I respect it and I see it and I understand it. Sometimes you have these cultural differences and you don't you don't necessarily agree on it, but there's a understanding and there's a respect. And with this couple, I think that's kind of where they landed as well when it comes to sending money. But just in general, when we see that there's a difference in just how we function as individuals, leading with how can I understand you more, is a great place to start. I worked with a couple one time when he was French. She was, Black, African American. He was French. And she felt like he did not express emotion. And there were some things around how he expressed himself that she felt more isolated, right? And she was like, maybe this is a cultural thing. When it comes to something like expression, they're not only culturally, but even personality types that are not so uh they're not so good at expressing how they're feeling or what they're thinking in words that are clear to the other person. This can be a learned skill. That's the other thing. Sometimes we lean on this is my culture as a crutch. If your personality is maybe more standoffish, you're less likely to express yourself when you have a partner, when you have a family that will need to hear and understand what it is you're saying and that you can articulate so that things can shift in the relationship. You can't use the culture as a crutch. Some things you need to actively be ready to shift because it allows you to be a better person or a better communicator or better at expressing yourself. It allows for more intimacy and connection in the relationship, right? Like if the, if it's a skill that you can learn around active listening or communication, we can't say like we just don't express ourselves and that's that. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying it's a light switch that you're just like, poof, now I'm expressive. No. But when you declare that it's something you want to work on, when you declare that it's something you want to be aware of, then you have more of an opportunity starts to open up to be like, okay, this is something that I can actually see shifting. And I'm not going to just lean on the fact like this is my culture. And so this is just how I am accepted. And we can do that in personality types. We can do that because of a certain upbringing that we have. We can do that in many ways in our partnership and not actually be in a space of, okay, is this something that I'd like to change within myself? Is this something that I think is going to make me better? Is this something that I think is going to help me grow? We don't think about that, right? And so leaning in with understanding and then asking ourselves, is this something that we want to improve upon anyway? Is this a skill that I can learn and I'm just familiar and settled in it because it's cultural or it's my personality type? We can probably make some shifts there. And that can make a big difference because a lot of times we do not want to admit when there's things about ourselves that we want to shift or that can be shifted and should be shifted. But in the end, it helps bridge the gaps in a relationship. It can be difficult to really have pride and really love your culture and have a partner that does not seem to care. I used to always say that you can't confuse not knowing with not caring, right? That piggybacks off the first thing around like gaining understanding and leading with understanding first. But it can be difficult because if you're feeling good about something, you're proud, you want to share it, you want to share in it with your partner, and they're not there. I'm Muslim, born and raised. My husband is not. And for years, I want to say he might have even started this the first year that he was kind of dialed in. He's been fasting with me for Ramadan. He doesn't have to. He's not obligated to. You know, he does not. It's just like something that he has done, and that has been really precious for me to go through that with him. I can't say that I know exactly how it would feel in a household if I'm fasting and he's not. But I was prepared for that. I had no expectation that that was going to be the case. And he made a decision for himself that I think this is something that I can support my wife in. I think this is something that would be good for me too, and not just because of her. And he's been doing it every year since. And also, he doesn't go to eat prayer with me. And there were a few years in the mix where that was challenging for me because I wanted him to be there with me. Before we had kids, I would go alone. And even when we had kids, I didn't really take them when they were really young. So a lot of times during Eid prayer, I see a lot of families and I'd probably be there by myself. And sometimes I would be there, my dad moved to Atlanta with my dad. And I've taken Sarah in the last couple of years as well. But yeah, there have been years where that part has been challenging, just in that I want to share in that moment with him. And one of the ways in which we have implemented a comfortable space for us in those moments is that he fasts with me. I'll go to eat prayer in the morning, and then we get together as a family and we eat and we celebrate and we go to Eid Fest and things like that. And that has been a way to bring him into the fold in a different way. And I believe having children also helped us to figure out how we could come together as a family during that celebration and still have him feel comfortable and feel like this is how I can contribute. This is how I can be a part of it in this way. And I have really grown to not only appreciate that, but look forward to it, love it as really a family celebration. Um, Prior to figuring out that could be challenging. And I think that kind of leads to my third thing. I didn't mean this to be like a listicle, but my third thing, in that you can find the gray area, you can find the middle ground, you can find where you are aligned and what you're comfortable participating in, what you're comfortable doing together. Can you meet the person that is having the most challenge where they are right now? Can you meet them there and say, wherever they are and whatever we do in that space, it's enough for now because that's where they are and I want to honor that. And that, I believe, is, important part of creating a comfortable and safe space for both of you to express individually your individual culture, your individual religious beliefs and spiritualities, even if it's not exactly the same. Do you need to be aligned on certain things for you all to move through life a bit smoother? For sure. Can you have a thriving, connected, understanding, foundational, intimate relationship if you have different cultures, different religions, or spiritual backgrounds? For sure. It comes down to who you are individually. It comes down to a sense of rigidity. It comes what your sense of rigidity might. If you're rigid about things, if you're unmoving, it's probably going to be challenging. But if you're in a space where, like, I want to understand, and even if we don't agree, I support, and I'm glad that I understand more. I'm in a place where, hey, this is an area that I actually want to improve, that I want to shift in, and so I'm happy that we can learn from each other in that way. And how can we meet each other where we are in celebration, in practice, in action of whatever, your culture practices, your traditions. And all of these things allow us within our differences to find a sense of closeness and connection. That's really all we want. We want closeness and we want connection, and we want to be accepted and seen and loved, not just in spite of the ways that we're different, but because of the ways that we're different. How are those things something that enriches our lives, enriches our relationship, enriches the lives of our children? Because they get to see and explore more within the home. They don't even have to leave the home to see different cultures, different spiritual backgrounds, and gain a sense of where they fit in and ask questions and understand more They can gain that right there in the home. It can be an enriching experience. Does not mean there are not going to be difficult times. Doesn't mean there's not going to be moments where you feel lonely because you're not sharing in it in the same exact way. You're in different places in your lives. You do celebrate and acknowledge traditions differently from different cultures. And yet and still we have this opportunity to lean in and to stay curious and to foster more connection and intimacy because of those special differences. How open are you? How open are you to learning and to trying? Right, like, before we shut anything down, instead of shutting anything down, can we be in a space where we are open and ready to receive what our partners can teach us and show us about their traditions, their cultures, and vice versa? So, yeah, that was on my mind today. Hopefully, y'all heard me there. Party. There's a rooftop right here. It's right here. They are partying. When I say party, I'm talking about the DJ is lighting up the block. I'm on the 22nd floor. I'm up here. I can still hear it. I hear the little, the DJ horn, and they're probably going to be partying for a while. But I have the microphone. I feel confident that you can hear me. I'm just saying what I'm hearing that you don't hear is a party, okay, on that roof. The DJ is getting it. The lights are strobing. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, for your listening ear, talking about this. I saw that clip and it was something that came to mind and I thought I would share it today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If having conversations like this that invite and encourage us to have better relationships with ourselves, our partners, and others that we are in relationship in the midst of the challenges and transitions and changes that we will inevitably go through in life, then this might be your vibe. And if this is your vibe, please subscribe. I'd love to continue the conversation in the comments below. Again, appreciate you and your ear, and I will see you tomorrow.